and 2 really gets points for nostalgia, if anything. But I will say that I do think this game gets one hell of a bum rep, more notably so than the other Sonic games. People tend to make the hold forward and win joke with this game, and it's completely untrue. This game has a superb amount of platforming and branching paths. Sure, there isn't a lot of times when you have to go to the left with rare accessibility music plant or a sky canyon, but that doesn't change anything. People tend to ignore these aspects of the game, most likely because, like the 3D games, it's more speed inspired than the classic 2D titles. People shouldn't let that bother them. I mean, it's Sonic. Isn't he supposed to go fast? It's not like you can actually pull the "there's no platforming" card on a viable note. This game has tons of platforming and a lot of other things that made the classic games so great. This is one of the few Sonic titles that, outside of my personal preference, I would argue is far better than people make it out to be, because it really is. Number 5. Sonic 3D Blast for the Sega Genesis. Another game with a surprisingly bad reputation. I absolutely love Sonic 3D Blast. And to be honest, I really don't know why people hate this game. Like, I literally have no clue. I guess it could be the hindsight associations with modern Sonic, because people tend to look at modern Sonic like he's the devil or something. I don't know, because I only started hearing bad things about this game after Sonic had a garbage reputation. More specifically after 2006. Which is an ironic story, kind of, because I got this game Christmas of 1996, which is almost exactly 10 years before these bad things started coming up about this game, and I was hyped out of my mind back then. The game was great, and from there, because of such fond memories, this game, for me at least, is best played during the Christmas season. It's a lone tradition that I do every year, but even today, I think the game is pretty good. It has a great soundtrack, the graphics are outstanding for what the Genesis can do. Gameplay, in hindsight, could have been better, but it doesn't at all ruin the experience. Although I will admit that this game is so close to the end of this list because of Christmas nostalgia. Number 4. Sonic Shuffle for the Sega Dreamcast. No, I'm not joking. I'm not tricking you. I'm not lying to you. I'm not trolling you. Allow me to state on the record, now and forever, that I fucking love this game. Flame Shield. I must be the defender of the underdog. This is the 3rd game in a row to appear on my top 10, and so close to the number 1 spot too. But I don't choose these games knowing that like 3 other people like them. So you all may be wondering, why do I love this game? Well, the soundtrack is fun to listen to. I personally think the minigames are fun. The stages are filled with interactivity, shortcuts, and events as time passes. But the most important reason is that Sonic Shuffle was a game that required an enormously deep sense of strategy, as the AI is brutal, even on easy mode. Like, you ever wonder what it's like to play advanced chess or some advanced version of a strategy-heavy game? Sonic Shuffle is that game. There are thousands of variables, nowhere near as luck-based as Mario Party, that you can take into consideration. The game can require turns of planning and a lot of reading of your opponent's moves, and there's a technical factor of it too, requiring you to build a bit of player skill and memorization. Needless to say, all this increased tenfold if there are 4 human players. You can form a temporary truce to take down the guy in the lead, or stump a lower ranked player further down, all while bearing your own ulterior motive. Get ready to be abject assholes to each other. This game promotes and condones it, and it's honestly a requirement to survive in this game. If you pride yourself in being a cunning strategist, a deep thinker, or in general someone who enjoys using tactics to win, give this game another try. It isn't perfect by any means, but it's still a solid game. And if you and your friends have nothing better to do on the weekend, order some pizza, sit down and boot up the Dreamcast and give it a shot. You will have an extremely good time, I guarantee you. Number 3. Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast, or Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut for the Sega GameCube. Boy, does this game rock. I don't care what skewed words anyone says today. Back then, this game was a universal hit and nothing less of a success. Back when there was no gap between classic and modern. In fact, on a technicality, this game passes for a classic title being released in 1999, only a few years after other classic 3D hybrids like Twisted Metal and Super Mario 64. Not perfect, but still outstanding, Sonic Adventure is another game wrongfully abused with the hold forward and win joke, which is untrue for just about all 3D titles, and is an exaggeration taken way too seriously, similar to the Sonic cycle. Sonic Adventure had, at its core, most of what made the 2D games wonderful, with platforming, surprises hidden in the stages, great music, nice boss fights with all the loops that any fan can enjoy. And it added new elements such as different stories, hub worlds, child gardens, and internet interactivity. It's a fun fact to know that Sonic Adventure was the very first console game in video game history that had downloadable content that eventually came right out of the box in DX. This game is a treasure and a classic, which like many other Dreamcast games paved the way for what gaming is today. If you won't for some reason acknowledge the game for its quality, then give it at least credit in its innovation, because a lot of elements used in modern games originated with this one. Number 2. Sonic Unleashed for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. I deliberately omitted the Wii and PS2 version, quite frankly because those two didn't capture at all the magic this version did. This game is number 2 for two prime reasons. The first reason being that it's in general a well-polished game. The graphics, the gameplay, the music, just about everything has so much love put into this game. Even the Werehog, which I'll admit is pretty much one of the worst parts about the game, but it really doesn't prevent me from enjoying it. It's a very well-polished game, and you have to give it credit for that. The second and more important reason is simply that this is a treasure title. Sega came so unbelievably close with perfecting the 3D formula with this game. Everyone acknowledges that if the Werehog hadn't existed in this game and it only consisted of day stages, this game would be an absolute hit. This formula would later be tweaked and reattempted in Sonic Colors, dividing the 2D, 3D gameplay style into distinct elements of play. If Sega were to try this game again, but leave out the Werehog and I guess trash the Metal Collector, this could be so big. The game captured the same feeling as when I played Sonic Adventure for the first time 11 years ago, and that feeling was only hindered by the Werehog. But even through it all, this game is worth waiting for the daytime stages. That's how you know they got it right. Well, half right. And number 1. Sonic 3 and Knuckles for the Sega Genesis. And really, did you expect anything different? I really don't have anything to say. What can I say that hasn't already been said? This game is perfect. If anything captured the feel of a Sonic game. If anything that can serve as a maximum standard as to what makes a Sonic game great, this game has done it better than all others. And to be honest, you all had a hard clue listening to my explanations behind Sonic 2. This game was my childhood, and you wouldn't believe the fanboyism of history that this game and I have. I've drawn comics, hundreds of them, in the 5th grade dedicated to this game. I've wrote stories by hand on lined paper using 20 or 30 pages front and back about this game. In older years, I've drawn 2 comics accurately retelling the story, one for Sonic and Tails and another for Knuckles. My nerd roots run too deep with this game. And there you have it, my top 10 favorite Sonic games as of Q3 2010. Will I make another top whatever in the future? Of course. What it's going to be, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I am open to suggestions, however. Thank you for watching.